The night sky above Puerto Rico was clear and full of stars. Dr. Samantha Wright leaned back in her chair and rubbed her tired eyes. For 6 months, she had been working late at the Arecibo Observatory, scanning the stars for signals. Most of her colleagues had gone home hours ago, but Samantha always stayed late. Tonight was no different. The computer screen in front of her showed waves of data flowing in from the massive radio telescope dish outside. The pattern looked the same as always. Samantha reached for her coffee mug and found it empty. "Great," she muttered. "Time for another refill." As she stood up, a sharp beep came from her computer. Samantha froze. The beep came again, more urgent this time. She dropped back into her chair and stared at the screen. The data pattern had changed. Something was different. "What in the world?" she whispered, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The signal was like nothing she had seen before. It was structured, with clear patterns that repeated, and it was strong, much stronger than any random space noise should be. Her heart began to race. This wasn't just unusual static. This was a message. Samantha grabbed her phone and called. The only person she trusted with this discovery. "Jack, it's me. You need to come to the lab right now." Jack Bennett arrived 20 minutes later, his brown hair messy and his shirt wrinkled. He had clearly been sleeping when Samantha called. "This better be good, Sam," he said, stifling a yawn. "It's 3 in the morning." Samantha pointed at her screen without a word. Jack leaned in, his eyes widening as he understood what he was seeing. "Is that what I think it is?" he asked. "It's a signal," Samantha said. "A real, structured signal from deep space. And it's encrypted." Jack pulled up a chair. "Can we break the encryption?" "I've been trying. The pattern is complex, but there's something familiar about it. It's like it's based on universal mathematical constants." For the next 2 weeks, Samantha and Jack worked nonstop. They barely ate or slept. Their colleagues thought they were crazy, but the pair ignored the concerned looks and whispers. They were on to something big. They could feel it. On the 15th day, at 2:37 a.m., their computer program finally broke through. "We did it," Jack sighed, his voice barely a whisper. "We actually did it." The decoded message filled the screen. It wasn't in any human language, but the computer had translated it based on the mathematical key they had discovered. What they read made their blood run cold. "Report to Galactic Council Session 4727. Earth Containment Assessment," Samantha read aloud. "The species continues to advance at an alarming rate. Weapons capability has reached level 3. Space exploration now at early level 2. Recommend immediate review of quarantine options before they detect our monitoring stations." Jack sat back in his chair. Galactic Council? Quarantine options? "Sam, this isn't a greeting. We just intercepted an alien report about us." "There's more," Samantha said, scrolling down. "Listen to this part. Comparison with the Centauri incident. Suggests Earth may need to be classified as Category 5 disruptive if current trends continue. Reminder that the last 7 Category 5 species were successfully contained or relocated to prevent widespread instability." Contained or relocated? Jack's face had gone pale. That doesn't sound good. Samantha kept reading, her voice growing more urgent. "Earth remains unaware of Council presence. Recommendation to maintain observation status until full Council vote next cycle. All members, please prepare position statements on possible intervention options." They looked at each other in silence. The implications were enormous. Earth wasn't alone in the universe. There was a galactic council of some kind, and they were watching humanity, possibly planning to contain them. "We need to tell someone," Jack said finally. "Who?" Samantha asked. "The government? The UN? Who would believe us?" "I have a contact at NASA," Jack said. My old roommate from college, Greg Harris. He works in their communications division now. He'll at least hear us out." 3 days later, Samantha and Jack found themselves in a secured room at the Pentagon. Greg had taken their discovery seriously serious enough to contact his superiors, who contacted their superiors. Now, Samantha was explaining their findings to a room full of military officers and government officials. "Based on what we've decoded, this Galactic Council has been watching Earth for a long time," she said. "They seem concerned about our technological progress, especially our weapons and space technology." "And you're sure this isn't a hoax?" asked a stern-looking woman in a dark suit. "The signal came from 47 light-years away, near the star Gliese 581, Jack answered. "No human technology could have sent it." A tall man with a military haircut and the name Pearson on his uniform stood up. "I'm Navy Commander Alan Pearson. What can you tell us about their capabilities or intentions?" "The message mentions other species that were contained or relocated," Samantha said. "The tone suggests they have the power to enforce their decisions." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. "There's one more thing," Jack added. "The message mentioned their next cycle for voting on what to do about Earth. Based on the time references in the message, we think that's about 6 months from now." Commander Pearson nodded grimly. "Then we have 6 months to prepare for first contact, and it may not be friendly." As the meeting continued, across the country at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, engineer Lara Garcia was reviewing Deep Space Telescope data when she noticed something strange. Several objects, massive in size, had changed position between scans. They were moving, and they were moving toward our solar system. Lara didn't know about the message Samantha and Jack had discovered. She didn't know about the Galactic Council. All she knew was that something big was happening in deep space, and it was heading straight for Earth. In the weeks that followed, governments around the world secretly began to prepare. Commander Pearson was appointed to lead a new Earth defense initiative. Scientists worked around the clock to understand the alien message and look for more communications. Military forces were quietly put on alert. Samantha and Jack continued their work at Arecibo, now with unlimited funding and resources. They scanned the stars day and night, looking for more signals, more clues about what humanity might be facing. "Do you ever wish we could go back?" Jack asked one night as they worked. "Back to before we found the signal? When we didn't know?" Samantha looked up at the night sky, visible through the observatory dome. Somewhere out there, alien beings were discussing Earth's fate. "No," she said firmly. "Knowledge is always better than ignorance. At least now we have a chance to prepare." What neither of them knew was that preparation might not be enough. The Galactic Council had been handling problem species for millennia, and they were coming to deliver their verdict. 6 months passed quickly. The world changed in small ways that most people did not notice. Governments built new research centers. Military bases became busier. Scientists were called to secret meetings. But ordinary life went on as usual. Then, on a Tuesday morning in October, every screen on Earth phones, computers, televisions went black for 10 seconds. When they came back on, they all showed the same image. A face that was not human. The being had blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer. Its eyes were large and silver. It had no visible nose, just 2 small slits. When it spoke, its thin mouth barely moved, but everyone heard the words in their own language. "People of Earth, I am the Arbiter. I speak for the Galactic Council, the united governing body of 1,157 civilized species across this galaxy." In the White House Situation Room, President William Carter watched with his advisors. Commander Pearson stood behind him. Dr. Samantha Wright and Jack Bennett sat nearby, their faces pale. "So it's real," the president whispered. They're real. On screen, the arbiter continued. For 3,000 years, we have observed your world. We have watched your progress and monitored your development. It is now time to formally announce our presence and inform you of a decision made by council vote. Lavra Garcia watched from NASA headquarters, her hands shaking. The objects she had tracked 6 months ago had arrived at the edge of our solar system 3 days earlier, a fleet of ships too large to imagine. By a vote of 872 to 231, with 54 abstentions, the Galactic Council has classified humanity as a Category 5 disruptive species, the arbiter said. This classification is based on your species' tendency toward violence, your destruction of your planetary environment, and your alarming rate of technological advancement. The arbiter's silver eyes seemed to stare directly at each person watching. The verdict is as follows. Earth will be placed under quarantine for 10,000 standard years. All space travel beyond the orbit of Mars is hereby prohibited. Any human found beyond this boundary will be immediately terminated. People around the world began to panic. In cities, crowds gathered in streets, looking up at the sky. Some prayed, some cried, some got angry. Alternatively, the arbiter continued, humanity may choose voluntary relocation to a designated reservation planet at the edge of the galaxy, where you will live under council supervision. You have 90 days to decide. I will return for your answer. The screens went black again, then returned to normal. But the world had changed forever. President Carter addressed the nation that evening. His face was serious but calm. My fellow Americans, citizens of Earth today, we have learned that we are not alone in the universe. The announcement from the Galactic Council represents both a challenge and an opportunity for humanity. I have spoken with world leaders, and we are united in purpose. We will face this situation with courage and wisdom. What the president did not say was what happened after the broadcast. Commander Pearson, Dr. Wright, and Jack Bennett had shown him something troubling. Mr. President, Samantha had explained, we've analyzed the arbiter's message carefully. There are inconsistencies in their reasoning. Jack nodded. The council claims they're concerned about our violent tendencies, but their own actions threatening. To terminate humans who travel in space show similar aggression. There's more, sir, Commander Pearson added. Our intelligence suggests the timing of this ultimatum coincides with several human breakthroughs in quantum computing and artificial intelligence. You think they're afraid of our technology? The president asked. We think that's the real reason for the quarantine, Samantha said. Not to protect the galaxy from us, but to protect their dominance from our potential. Now, as the president finished his public address with words of hope and unity, private meetings were happening around the world. Scientists, military leaders, and government officials gathered to discuss options that could not be shared publicly. At NASA, Lavra Garcia was called to one such meeting. She had been working on theoretical physics problems for years, mostly ignored by her colleagues. But now, her ideas suddenly mattered very much. The arbiter ships used some kind of space-folding technology to get here, she explained to the room full of serious faces. They didn't travel through normal space. They bent it. And you think we can do the same? Someone asked. Lara took a deep breath. I think we can do better. My team has been working on a theory involving dark energy manipulation. If we're right, we could create stable wormholes shortcuts through spacetime. How long to develop a working prototype? Commander Pearson asked. With unlimited resources? Maybe a year, maybe less. The commander looked at the others in the room. That's not fast enough. The council expects our answer in 90 days. Then we'll need to stall them, said a woman at the end of the table. Make them think we're considering their options while we work on our own solution. Over the next weeks, Diplomatic teams met with the arbiter to discuss the quarantine terms. They asked detailed questions. They requested clarifications. They debated minor points, all to buy time. Meanwhile, in secret facilities around the world, work began in what was called Operation Exodus. Commander Pearson led the military aspects, developing ways to hide their activities from the Council's watching eyes. Dr. Wright and Jack created a system of quantum entangled communication devices that would work across vast distances. And Lavra Garcia's team worked day and night on their wormhole drive. 60 days after the Arbiter's announcement, President Carter met again with his core team. "Where do we stand?" he asked. "The physics works," Lavra said. "We've created micro-wormholes. In the lab, scaling up is the challenge now. Construction has begun on the first-generation ships," Commander Pearson reported, "hidden in old mine systems and underwater facilities. We're using the cover story of building planetary defenses to explain the movement of materials." "What? About the general population?" the president asked. "We can't take everyone in the first wave. The selection process has started," Samantha said quietly. "We're identifying key individuals with essential skills, plus a cross-section of humanity, to ensure genetic diversity. The plan is to take 1.2 billion people in the first wave. And the rest?" The president's voice was heavy. "They'll follow in subsequent waves," Jack explained. "Meanwhile, we've developed advanced androids that can maintain the appearance of normal civilization on Earth. The Council won't know we're gone until it's too late." President Carter walked to the window and looked out at the White House lawn. Children were taking a tour, laughing and pointing at the famous building. They had no idea what was coming. "How do we tell people?" he asked. "How do we tell them? That we're abandoning Earth?" "We don't call it abandonment, sir," Commander Pearson said firmly. "We call it what it is, freedom. The Council gave us two choices: stay caged or live in a zoo. We're choosing a third option. We're taking our destiny into our own hands." The president nodded slowly. "Then let's make it happen. Operation Exodus is now our top priority." As he spoke, high above Earth, Council ships watched and waited, unaware that humanity had already decided not to stick around to be exiled. The world changed in ways both visible and invisible. On the surface, life seemed almost normal. People went to work. Children attended school. But underneath, Operation Exodus moved forward at an incredible pace. Deep underground, in abandoned mines and hidden mountain bases, the first-generation ships took shape. Each was massive, nearly a mile long, and designed to carry tens of thousands of people. Along with plants, animals, and the knowledge of Earth, Lavra Garcia hardly slept anymore. Her wormhole drive had moved from theory to reality faster than anyone thought possible. She stood in a vast underground hangar in Colorado, looking up at the first completed drive system. "Will it work?" Commander Pearson asked, standing beside her. "It already has, in our small-scale tests," Lavra said. "The math checks out. The question is whether we can hide the energy signature from the Council's sensors." The commander nodded. "That's my department." Pearson's team had developed stealth technology unlike anything on Earth before. It couldn't hide the ships completely, but it could disguise the energy signatures of the wormhole drives to look like normal power fluctuations. Meanwhile, Dr. Samantha Wright and Jack Bennett worked on the communication problem. How would the scattered human fleet stay in touch after they fled to different corners of the galaxy? "The quantum entanglement is stable," Jack said, examining the small device on the lab table. "No matter how far apart they get, these units will stay connected." Samantha picked up one of the communicators. It looked simple, just a small silver box with a screen, but it contained technology that would have won Nobel Prizes in normal times. "One for each ship," she said. a network that can span the galaxy. On the political front, President Carter met regularly with world leaders to coordinate the greatest migration in human history. The selection process was difficult and painful. Who would go in the first wave? Who would stay behind for later waves? Who would operate the android replacements? In public, the president continued to negotiate with the arbiter, asking for more time to consider the council's options. The alien seemed pleased by humanity's apparent compliance. "Your species shows wisdom in considering our offer carefully," the arbiter said during one broadcast meeting. "Many others have responded with violence and paid the price." "We are a peaceful people," President Carter replied, hiding his true thoughts. "We only want what's best for humanity." As the 90-day deadline approached, the pace of Operation Exodus increased. The first 500 generation ships were complete. The wormhole drives were installed and tested. The stealth systems were activated. Now came the hardest part, loading the ships with people and supplies without the council noticing. The solution was brilliant in its simplicity. All around the world, governments announced emergency drills, practice evacuations, civil defense exercises. People moved in large groups to designated areas, which happened to be near the hidden ship facilities. "It's working," Commander Pearson reported to the president. "The council observers think we're preparing for either quarantine or relocation. They don't suspect we're planning to leave altogether." "And the android replacements?" the president asked. "Ready, sir. Nearly 1 billion of them. They look human, act human, and will maintain the appearance of a functioning civilization. The council's distant observers won't know the difference." On a cold January morning, 6 months after the arbiter's first appearance, President Carter addressed his final cabinet meeting. "Tomorrow, the first wave leaves," he said to the solemn faces around the table. "We've done all we can to prepare. Now we must trust in human ingenuity and courage. What about those who stay behind to manage the android population?" asked the Chief Secretary of State. "They'll join the second wave in 6 months," Commander Pearson explained. "By then, the automated systems will be fully operational. Earth will appear inhabited, but no humans will remain." That night, in homes across the world, families packed their final belongings. Each person was allowed one small bag of personal items. Everything else would be left behind. Children clutched favorite toys. Adults held family photos and small keepsakes. In Nebraska, a farmer named Steve Miller looked out over his fields one last time. His family had worked this land for 5 generations. Tomorrow, it would be empty. In Tokyo, Dr. Yuki Nakamura carefully packed her grandmother's hairpin. Her medical skills had earned her a place on the first wave. She would help establish a new hospital on whatever world they found. In Lagos, teacher Paul Ademi reads stories to his students. They were all going together. The entire school had been selected to preserve Earth's educational knowledge. Early the next morning, Laura Garcia stood in the control room of the lead ship, named New Horizon. Around her, engineers checked systems and monitored the wormhole drive. She had barely slept, making final adjustments to ensure the jump would work perfectly. "All systems ready," she reported to Commander Pearson. "Wormhole coordinates are set for the Centauri 12 region. It's far beyond council space." "And the other ships?" he asked. "All 500 have received their unique coordinates. We'll scatter across uncharted regions of the galaxy. The council won't be able to find us all." On the command deck, President Carter prepared to give the order that would change human history forever. Dr. Wright handed him the quantum communicator that would connect to all 500 ships. "This is President Carter to all Exodus vessels. Humanity has faced many challenges throughout our history. We have overcome ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters. Today we face a different kind of challenge, an alien power that seeks to cage US, to limit our potential, to deny our rightful place among the stars. He paused, looking at the faces around him. These people would never see Earth again. The Galactic Council voted to exile Earth, but we, humanity, have chosen not to accept their judgment. We will not be imprisoned on our own world. We will not be relocated to a reservation. Instead, we choose freedom to chart our own course among the stars. Across the world, in hidden launch facilities, the massive ships hummed with power as their wormhole drives activated. Departure in 60 seconds, Lara announced, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The president finished his address. To those who follow in the second and third waves, we will be waiting for you. To the council who thought to contain us, farewell. Humanity doesn't stick around to be exiled. We exile ourselves to freedom. Commander Pearson began the countdown. 10, 9, 8... On their screens, council ships continued to orbit Earth, unaware of what was happening. 3, 2, 1... Lara Garcia pressed the activation key. Around the world, 500 wormholes opened, simultaneously swirling portals of light that bent the fabric of space-time. Jump, Commander Pearson ordered. The new horizon moved forward into the wormhole. Behind it, all across Earth, the first wave of Exodus ships followed. In less than 5 minutes, over 500 million humans disappeared from Earth, taking the first step on humanity's greatest journey. The new horizon emerged from the wormhole into unknown space. Stars looked different here, far from Earth. On the command deck, Lara Garcia checked her instruments with shaking hands. Jump complete, she announced. All systems stable. President. Carter looked at the main screen. Where are we exactly? About 70 light years from Earth, Lara said. Well beyond council space, according to the maps we decoded from their transmissions. Commander Pearson studied the tactical display. Any sign of the other ships? Dr. Samantha Wright activated the quantum communication network. Coming online now. We should be able to contact all vessels, regardless of their distance from us. The screen flickered, then filled with status reports from the other ships. 1. By 1, they confirmed successful jumps. 500 vessels carrying 500 million humans had escaped Earth in a single coordinated move, the greatest vanishing act in history. It worked, Jack Bennett whispered. It actually worked. Meanwhile, back on Earth, July 7th, 2049, now known as Departure Day, appeared normal to any watching eyes. The android population continued their programmed routines. Lights came on. As evening fell, radio and television signals broadcast regular programs. To the council observers, nothing seemed unusual. The Arbiter, orbiting Earth in his command ship, noticed strange energy readings during the morning hours, but dismissed them as atmospheric disturbances. Earth had many weather patterns, the council found unusual. The humans had requested an extension on their decision deadline, and the council had granted it. There was no reason for concern. What the Arbiter didn't know was that the real work on Earth was just beginning. With the first wave safely away, the remaining humans prepared for the second and third waves. More ships were under construction, more supplies were being gathered, and the android population was being fine-tuned to maintain the illusion of a fully inhabited planet. In an underground control center beneath Denver, Susan Roberts led the team managing the android network. On her screens, she could see major cities around the world, all functioning normally or appearing to. New York's morning commute patterns looked natural, reported her assistant. Council satellites just passed overhead and detected normal heat. Signatures and movement. Susan nodded. Good. What about the European sector? All green. The androids are following human behavior patterns perfectly. They're even creating small inefficiencies and traffic jams to seem more realistic. This was the key to the deception, not perfection, but imperfection. Humans were messy, inefficient, and unpredictable. The androids had to mimic these traits to seem real. Back in deep space, the New Horizon had established itself as the command ship for the scattered human fleet. Through the quantum communication network, it coordinated the movements of all 500 vessels. Dr. Wright worked with the navigation teams to identify potential worlds for settlement. "We have 7 promising planets within reach," she told the Leadership Council. "All have atmospheres we can breathe and climates we can adapt to." "How soon can we begin landings?" President Carter asked. "The closest is 3 days away by conventional drive," Commander Pearson said. "We're calling it Haven. Initial scans show Earth-like conditions, oceans, forests, moderate temperatures." Lavra Garcia had barely slept since the jump. She was still fine-tuning the wormhole drive, preparing it for the shorter jumps that would bring the other ships to their chosen worlds. "The energy signature was minimal," she reported. "I don't think the Council detected our departure method. They might have registered some unusual readings, but nothing that would tell them what we did or where we went." Jack Bennett worked alongside her, helping with the calculations. "Do you think they'll figure it out eventually?" Lavra shrugged. "Maybe, but by then we'll be established on multiple worlds. They'd have to search a huge area of space to find us all." On the 3rd day after the jump, the New Horizon approached Haven. The blue-green planet grew larger on the view screens. It looked remarkably like Earth oceans, continents, white clouds swirling in the atmosphere. "Scan for any signs of intelligent life," President Carter ordered. The science team conducted thorough scans. "No artificial structures," they reported. "No radio signals. No evidence of technology. There are life forms, plants, animals, but nothing sentient that we can detect. And Haven will be our first colony world," the president declared. The ship moved into orbit. Smaller landing craft were prepared. The first teams would go down to set up initial bases and confirm the environment was safe. Then larger settlements would follow. Dr. Wright stood with the first landing team, wearing an environmental suit, despite the readings that showed the air was breathable. It was better to be cautious. "Ready?" Commander Pearson asked. He would lead the first group himself. Samantha nodded. After months of planning and the incredible leap across space, this moment felt almost unreal. They were about to set foot on an alien world, a new home for humanity. The landing craft descended through Haven's atmosphere. Through the windows, they could see vast forests and sparkling oceans. It was beautiful, untouched, waiting for them. A gentle bump, the craft landed in a meadow surrounded by trees with silver-blue leaves. Commander Pearson checked the external sensors one final time. Atmosphere confirmed safe. Gravity 0.92 of Earth normal. Temperature 68 degrees Fahrenheit. No detected pathogens or toxins. He opened the hatch. Fresh air, alien air flowed in. It smelled sweet, like flowers and fresh water. Dr. Wright removed her helmet, taking the first unfiltered breath. "It's perfect," she whispered. "Commander." Pearson stepped out onto the surface of Haven, the first human to walk on a world beyond our solar system. The ground was firm under his boots. A light breeze ruffled his hair. Small, bird-like creatures with rainbow wings circled curiously overhead. "Haven welcomes us," he said into his communicator. Back on the New Horizon, President Carter heard these words and closed his eyes briefly in relief. Phase 1 of humanity's great escape had succeeded. "Send down the builders," he ordered. "It's time to make this our home." Over the next week, more ships arrived at Haven. Others traveled too. Different worlds they named Freedom, New Dawn, Sanctuary, and Promise. Humanity was spreading across the stars. establishing footholds on multiple planets to ensure their survival. Meanwhile, on Earth, preparations continued for the second wave departure. The android population maintained the illusion of normal human activity. Cities functioned, farms operated. The deception held. The Arbiter, still orbiting Earth, sent regular reports to the Galactic Council. The humans continue to consider their options, he reported. They show no signs of resistance or unusual activity. I believe they will ultimately accept relocation rather than quarantine. How wrong he was. Humanity hadn't accepted either option. They had created their own path to the stars, and they were never coming back. 5 years passed. Where once there had been nothing but wilderness, now 17 human colony worlds thrived across uncharted regions of the galaxy. On Haven, the largest colony, a city called New Washington had grown from a collection of simple shelters to a sprawling metropolis of elegant buildings and wide streets. Dr. Samantha Wright stood on the balcony of the Science Center, looking out over the city. The silver-blue trees of Haven had been carefully preserved between the buildings, giving the city a magical appearance. In the harbor, ships moved between islands where more settlements had been built. "Beautiful morning," Jack Bennett said, joining her with 2 cups of coffee. The beans were grown on Promise, the 4th colony world which had climate perfect for coffee plants. "Hard to believe it's been 5 years, Samantha said, taking a cup. "Sometimes I still expect to wake up on Earth." Their peaceful moment was interrupted by a young assistant rushing onto the balcony. "Dr. Wright, we've intercepted Council communications. You need to see this immediately." In the monitoring room, Lavra Garcia was already reviewing the data. After the successful exodus from Earth, she had turned her brilliant mind to creating better listening devices. The quantum sensors she designed could detect Council communications from incredible distances. "What do we have?" Samantha asked. Laura's face was grim. "They know, Sam. The Council has discovered Earth is empty." On the screens, translated Council messages scrolled past. They told a clear story. 6 months after the third and final wave of humanity had left Earth, the android population had been programmed to gradually die off in what appeared to be a global pandemic. For years, the number of active androids had decreased, cities had dimmed, and activity had slowed. Finally, Council inspectors had gone to the surface to investigate. They found an empty planet. No humans, no explanation. Just millions of deactivated androids and automated systems still running basic infrastructure. "The Council is in chaos," Jack said, reading through the messages. "Some members are demanding an immediate search of nearby star systems. Others are saying this proves we were too dangerous to begin with." "There's more." Lara pointed to another screen. "A minority faction is actually impressed. They're arguing that a species clever enough to escape undetected deserves recognition, not punishment." Commander Pearson arrived, followed by President Carter. In the 5 years since the Exodus, Carter had been re-elected as the first president of the United Human Worlds, the government formed to unite all 17 colonies. "How bad is it?" a president asked. "Not as bad as it could be, Commander," Pearson said, studying the tactical data. "The Council doesn't know where to look for us. We're scattered across thousands of light years in regions they never explored. And even if they found one colony, they wouldn't find them all." President Carter nodded. "Still, we should increase our defensive preparations. Lavra, how are the shield systems coming?" "The prototypes are working," she said. "We can hide entire planets from long-range scanners if we need to." The human colonies had not been idle during these 5 years. While building new homes and societies, they had also developed defensive technologies. Commander Pearson's military fleet now included thousands of ships. They weren't looking for a fight with the Council, but they were ready if one came. That evening, President Carter addressed all 17 colony worlds via the quantum broadcast system. His image appeared in homes, public squares, and community centers across the settled planets. Citizens of the United Human Worlds, today marks an important moment in our new history. The Galactic Council has discovered that Earth is empty. They know we have left, though they do not know where we have gone. He paused, letting the news sink in. Some may feel fear at this development, but I remind you of what we have accomplished. In 5 short years, we have built thriving colonies on 17 worlds. Our population has grown. Our technology has advanced, and we have done all this free from the restrictions the Council would have placed upon us. On Haven's sister world, Freedom, children played in parks while their parents listened to the President's words. On Sanctuary, farmers paused in their fields to watch. On New Dawn, scientists and engineers gathered around screens in research. Labs, the Council wanted to cage us. Instead, we have claimed the stars. They wanted to limit our potential. We have exceeded it. They thought to control us. We have proven uncontrollable. The President's voice grew stronger. We did not leave because we feared them. We left because our destiny lies beyond their understanding. Humanity will not be defined by others' limitations. We define ourselves. As the speech concluded, in her lab on Haven, Lavra Garcia made a discovery that would change everything yet again. She had been analyzing old Council communications, looking for patterns and information that might help protect the colonies. What she found instead was something unexpected. "Dr. Wright," she called out, "I think you should see this." Samantha joined her at the workstation. "What am I looking at?" "Council records going back thousands of years," Lavra explained. "I've been translating their historical archives. Look at these references to other Category 5 species. On the screen, names and locations of dozens of species appeared. All had been classified as dangerous by the Council. All had supposedly been contained or relocated. What about them?" Samantha asked. "That's just it," Lara said, her eyes bright with excitement. "According to these records, at least 7 of these species disappeared completely. The Council lost track of them, just like they lost track of us." Samantha stared at the screen. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" "We might not be the first to escape," Lara said. "There could be other civilizations out there, free from Council control. Some of these disappearances date back thousands of years. They could have built entire galactic societies by now." The implications were enormous. Humanity might not be alone in their rebellion. There could be allies among the star's other species who had chosen freedom over submission. The next morning, President Carter convened an emergency meeting with his advisors. Lavra and Samantha presented their findings. "If these other species exist," Commander Pearson said, "finding them could change everything. We could form alliances, share technology, create a counterforce to the Council. Or they might see us as threats," Jack pointed out. "We know nothing about them, except that the Council found them dangerous." President Carter listened to all views. Then he made his decision. "Prepare a mission," he ordered. "Our best ship, our best people. Dr. Wright, I want you to lead it. Find these other exiles if they exist. Extend the hand of friendship from humanity." Samantha nodded, feeling the weight of this new responsibility. "Yes, Mr. President." As the meeting ended, she walked to the window and looked up at the alien sky. Somewhere out there, beyond the stars visible from Haven, other beings might be looking back, beings who had also refused to be caged, who had also chosen to seek their own path among the stars. The Galactic Council had voted to exile Earth. Humanity hadn't stuck around to be asked twice. And now they might discover they were part of something even greater, a galaxy where freedom found a way. where no council could contain the spirit of exploration and self-determination that they shared with others among the stars. The greatest journey was just beginning.